Hello, everybody, and welcome to LRM Ranks It, the show where we take our favorite movies, video games, TV shows, things involved with that, and we put them in an order that appeases us. Because it's only my opinion that matters, really. My guests, whatever. But speaking of guests, I'm actually joined today by the big boss man himself, Joseph Jammer Medina, Editor-in-Chief of LRMonline.com. What's up, Joseph?
Not much. Ready to talk? Actually, I'm not going to spoil the subject. What are we talking about today?
Well, today we're going to be talking about Disney Animation Studio movies. Our personal top 5 from the year 2000 to basically 2018 because, well, nothing new's come out yet. So we're breaking down the Disney movies. You're actually going to see a lot of stuff, starting with Pixar, which you guys should have seen a week or two ago. And we're going to do 2000 to 2018 today, like I said. And then we're going to do 1980 to 1999, and then everything from 1979 on back. And so that way you guys, there's a lot to cover. I think it would be completely unfair and difficult to say, hey, what's my top 5 from Snow White through Wreck-It Ralph 2, through Ralph Breaks the Internet. So that's why we're breaking them down that way.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing. Why don't we go ahead and get started, Joseph, with your number 5?
My number 5 is sort of a dark horse. Emperor's New Groove. It was one of their last, not their last, there are a couple more after that, but one of their last 2D animated movies. Mm-hmm. It also went through a whole thing where it was changed from a more traditional animated movie to basically a buddy comedy. And for the age I was in middle school, I think I was looking for something a little more subversive, a little more, for lack of a better word, edgy. And Emperor's New Groove really delivered on that. It was funny, it was tongue-in-cheek, it broke the fourth wall. I couldn't tell you if this would hold up had I just watched this today for the first time. Yeah. But I know it definitely holds a very special place in my heart, and that's why it's number 5. Very different for Disney at the time.
It was one of those movies that I considered putting on my list. I'm not a big, huge, musical fan, and of course, like you said, it was different. It's a funny movie, and I mean, John Goodman and David Spade, I mean, that's hilarious right there in and of itself. So, it didn't quite make my list, but it was one of those that I thought about. Tell you what did make my list at number 5 was Moana. It's definitely a musical. It's a different type of musical, a different type of princess movie. It's one of the most visually stunning. It almost felt more, and not just because it was CGI, but just the way the movie was approached. It almost felt more like a Pixar film than a Disney Animation Studios. But I really, really enjoyed the story aspect. I mean, come on. The rooster's freaking hilarious. Maui is freaking hilarious. And like I said, it was a visually stunning movie, incredibly beautiful. The music was fine. It was didn't bother me as much as some other musicals. I'm not a huge fan of the traditional Disney princess musicals, and that's why my list is going to be so not full of that. But right. It's not my thing. Very few musicals that I like, but this is one of them. Very, very cool movie. I was thoroughly impressed with it. My son loves it, and yeah, Moana's my number 5.
Yeah, most Disney's movies have kind of a handicap with you if you don't like musicals, so exactly. I can understand that.
There's a few out there I like, but they got to be pretty special. I was more into some of the live action animated things like Bedknobs and Broomsticks, which is weird because that's even more ridiculous than some of the Aladdin or Lion King. But hey, It is what it is.
Yeah. Moana is on my list as well. We'll get to it further down. My number 4 is a musical, and it's relatively recently released, and that is Frozen. It was sort of the big movie that came out, and the year it came out, it was, it probably annoyed the fuck out of you because you don't like musicals. And if you don't like a musical, it's bad enough to have a musical, but if it's a musical that you haven't seen and it permeates the pop culture sphere, you're going to get these songs just repeated over and over again. But these songs are amazing for Frozen, especially in context of the story, and especially if you aren't going in jaded and already hating the songs. They were really meaningful, and to the characters, it was a very different type of story for them to tell, one about sisters and not necessarily about a single sister or a single character overcoming an obstacle. So a very unique tale for them, and they handled it really well. It was the princess movie for a new generation of kids, and I just think it almost serves as a turning point for them to moving forward in the new age.
Yeah, like you said, I kind of jaded against it just from the get go because it's princessy and it's a musical. But yeah, I heard the songs way too much. Can't support it, not at all. Nope, not my cup of tea. I couldn't
You don't support it?
I tried to watch it. My wife watched it. She does like musicals, and I tried to watch it with her a bit, and just I couldn't get into it whatsoever. And no aspect of that movie. And when they started singing, I was just like, nope, I'm done. I'm out. I'm gonna go play video games. So that's what I did.
You sound like such a 12-year-old boy saying that.
You know what?
Like,
it's fine.
I'm not gonna watch my girly musical movie. I'm gonna go play video games and shoot some guy's head off.
My number 4 is actually a movie that came out this year. I thought really hard about whether or not I should put this on here, but I ended up doing it because I actually thoroughly enjoyed it. And there's not that many movies in this 18 years that I did enjoy this much, and it would be Ralph Breaks the Internet. It was a good movie. It was very, very emotional, and it had a very cool journey that was a little bit more Vanellope, but also just slightly less of Ralph, while the first movie was definitely all about Ralph. And I appreciate the message that is going through that movie. I think they kind of missed using the internet as much as they could have. It felt too much like the background, unlike, say, the video game worlds from the first one, which really felt like a full part of the movie, not just part of the background.
I literally thought for 1 second you were going to say, unlike the Emoji Movie, and you were about to give them a compliment.
No,
Anyways,
I'm not
continue.
giving the Emoji Movie a compliment. I haven't seen it, so it's not something that I think I want to see. But who knows? I got a 5-year-old kid, so he might see it at school and we'll get stuck. But yeah, Ralph Breaks the Internet. Emotional journey, great. A little missed opportunity on using the internet as part of the story, but I loved it. I can't wait to watch it again. I can't wait for it to hit home video. So yep, Ralph Breaks the Internet, my number 4.
Ralph Breaks the Internet. It's not on my top 5 list, but I'm not. Yeah, it was close. It was close to making it. I think it was probably number 6 or 7.
Yeah.
And I thought it was good. Yeah, I thought it was a solid follow up. I agree with you on the setting that it wasn't used as well as it could have been used. Maybe it has more to do with the fact that it's such a big concept that it couldn't really be tackled in a single movie like that, without feeling more like a backdrop as opposed to sort of a living, breathing part of the story, as the first one was. So that's unfortunate, and I do think that kind of knocks against it. But as you mentioned, the emotional through line is what really helped this story, and actually giving Ralph and Vanellope room to grow as characters helps set this one apart from the Emoji Movie. Actually giving some meaningful thoughts to it, and not just a series of internet jokes. But rest assured, they still have plenty of internet jokes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So go ahead. You already ruined your number 3, so let's just talk about Moana.
Let's talk about Moana. I mean, it's a beautiful movie. Beautiful. It's colorful. It has a very strong and active protagonist who is always pushing the plot forward. And you really buy her motivations to help save her island. I love the relationship between her and Maui, almost like uncle niece type thing. Very mischievous, and I love that they butt heads for a good portion of the movie. So yeah, great dynamic and overall growth of the characters, and beautiful music. I know you don't like music, but the music here was amazing.
It was pretty good.
Lin-Manuel Miranda, he's a fucking genius, and he nailed it with his many songs here. And the big unexpected song out of that one was Shiny, which was the turtle. Was it turtle? No, it was a crab. The crab character, basically a David Bowie song, and I thought that was really fun. And so nothing, I can't think of really anything negative. I've watched this movie probably north of 10 times, and I love it almost equally every single time. I have a goddaughter. She watches it a million times, so that's where most of those watches came from. But yeah, I never get sick of it. If it's on, I'll watch it gladly.
Definitely. I really wanted to mention, speaking about beautiful, the big battle against the lava monster, the goddess, god. I don't know what proper term you want to use for it, but that was actually one of the coolest scenes out of any 3D animated movie. Really, really wonderfully animated. And I'd also give props to the voice actor. Something I wanted to say during my part, but I forgot to. The voice acting cast did great.
Yeah, I mean, the girl who played Moana herself was she was young. She was like 16, and she was great. She had an amazing voice for singing and an amazing talent for acting, and she was able to hold up to the rock. And yeah, that scene you're talking about where the monster is running towards Moana, and she's like in slow motion, is chill inducing.
Yeah. It was definitely great. My number three is something that I think is on your list. I don't want to ruin where it might be at, but my number three is Zootopia. Another different type of Disney movie. Definitely not a princess musical, but a cool story with great characters. It's got Jason Bateman in it as the fox. I like Jason Bateman. I think he's a great actor, very funny actor. There was a very cool twist in this movie that honestly, now that I look back on it, yeah, I should have seen it coming, but I was so enveloped in what was going on that the twist actually caught me, and I was like, oh wow, that's pretty cool. I'm down with that. Wonderfully animated. It's a very cool world. I love how the animals are to scale. They didn't, make everything anthropomorphically, to our scale. The elephants are big and heavy. The mice are really small, and lots of great comedy in it. And of course, I like the Godfather references with the little, I think he's like a mole or something like that. Absolutely hilarious. Yeah, Zootopia, my number three. I love the scene in the towards the beginning with Judy in the play, and she's like blood, and there's all the ketchup, and just, yeah, it's over the top hilarious. Makes it to my number three.
On my list as well, but I do want to mention in regards to scaled elephants, or not scaled elephants specifically, but the scale-to-scale animals, and that really invited all sorts of interesting ideas in terms of how the society would run, like how they would have different heights for different things or different ways of leveling things out, and that made it really interesting, and almost in a way when maybe Ralph Breaks the Internet wasn't able to make that world dynamic, they were able to do that with this world in an unexpected way. But I'll get more into why I love the movie later in my list.
Absolutely.
But I'll go ahead and hop into my number two, basically spoiling where Zootopia is. Wreck-It Ralph is number two for me. Ooh. And pretty much you kind of nailed it with your Ralph Breaks the Internet claim in that it's a great, amazing world that is more than just a backdrop. It's video games, and I grew up loving video games. Once upon a time, I wanted to be a video game developer before I became more about just story. And
didn't we all?
Didn't we all? I mean, I could have fucking done it. I could have done it. I could have done something with my life. No, but like...
I could have been a contender.
No, but it was great, and you have a great relationship between Vanellope and Ralph. The script is airtight. It has no loose ends. It moves along really fast. It goes from game to game before it settles in. The dynamic between Ralph and Vanellope is awesome. How they start off, like almost every buddy movie, they start off kind of against each other. They kind of go into a steady partnership before growing together and really complementing each other. Each other's strengths and weaknesses, which makes Ralph Breaks the Internet, more in retrospect, a better movie, just because of how much these guys, they kind of complete each other as friends, and to see that relationship develop in not necessarily the most expected way is kind of interesting. But yeah, Wreck-It Ralph, I really cannot think of a single bad thing about it, but we do have some ideas how one thing I would change, but you're going to have to listen to the audio podcast to hear.
Yes. We definitely had an idea for the sequel.
and the original
general. Yep, absolutely. So that's definitely check out the podcast, guys. You should definitely listen to that. So my number two is Big Hero 6, a movie I know that you're not as big a fan of. I absolutely love this movie. I'm a big superhero fan. I mean, you guys can see my Superhero Squad Marvel toys behind me, and I got a Ninja Turtle poster and stuff like that. So I'm big into superheroes, and Big Hero 6 is nothing. The movie is nothing like the comic book, which I'm completely okay with. I like the world of San Francisco. I love the characters. Baymax is just comedy gold. I really enjoyed. I thought there was a lot of heart in the movie. The scene where Hero actually executes the kill mode for Baymax to go after Cray is great, and I think the voice actor did a great job showing raw emotion. And I love all the other heroes trying to stop Baymax from killing this guy, because he was going to kill him. And I just do. I love the movie. I think it's a beautifully animated movie, fun story, and Big Hero 6. That's my number two.
Yeah, not as much of a fan of it personally. I mentioned this also in the audio podcast. I'll get more in depth, but it to me is one of the first movies, despite my 30 years of age. When I watched, I felt gross because it felt like I was just being sold things to.
Yeah.
It didn't quite hit me emotionally. It seemed like it was on the verge of doing something really interesting, and then it kind of didn't deliver on it for me. And the third act bored me compared to, it felt like a third act in a lot of superhero movies where it kind of just going through the motions of the action scenes and stuff. But this one I felt was especially weak for me because they were building up this big twist that, to me, I had figured out halfway through the movie. And nothing against movies going through the motions of things, but when you're trying to set up a twist and it kind of flops and you're already kind of disgusted and bored, it just doesn't work. But that's just my very strong opinion.
I mean, you're just a terrible person, so it's all good. Before we get into our big number ones, which I think people have probably figured out now, make sure you guys hit that like, that subscribe button, the bell here on the YouTube page so you can be notified whenever we post new products on YouTube. Go by the website, lrmonline.com. Make sure you guys leave some comments. Tell us what you think about our lists, and tell us what's on your list. Definitely do that, and don't forget to check out our sister video series, I'd buy that for $1 from Stefan White. Yeah, definitely. So, big reveal, Joseph. What's your number one?
My number one is Brother Bear, which came out. I'm just kidding. My number one is Zootopia. Zootopia. It was a great mystery. It's a great mystery film. It allows itself to indulge in the almost noir, hard-boiled type of tone it has, and become an actual mystery story. I think Judy Hopps and Nicholas Wilde, I think they are amazing characters, and I really felt connected with the rabbit somehow, and I really wanted her to succeed. They made her incredibly likable, and they managed to make Nick very skeezy without being unlikable. So that's a very difficult balance that they were able to get, but that they weren't unwilling to turn away from the potentially controversial racial overtones that this movie elicited. And it was I was just shocked that they went there on many different levels. Like, it was very much like in your face. It was almost insultingly in your face, but for some reason they managed to do it in a way that didn't get me annoyed. And but yeah, very powerful stuff, very powerful with that social commentary, amazing twist, sharp writing, really funny and entertaining throughout. This is easily probably top 3 animated movies of all time, and I'm not just talking about American animation. I'm talking about animation in general. Like, I watch a lot of anime, so including all that stuff, I think that's really high praise. I fucking adore this movie.
Absolutely. Well, we already talked about it on my end. I agree everything with you except for it being the best, top 3. Well, it might be up in the top 3, but my next movie is my number 1 favorite animated film of all time, and it is Wreck-It Ralph. Everything you said plus some. I think it's near, you talk about the script being tight. I think it's on the level of Back to the Future type of perfection as far as story and pacing and characters, right? Like, everything. This is a movie that I can't really pick at anything and say this is wrong or this shouldn't have been there. Wonderful characters, a wonderful story, and a very, very catchy, I don't want to say theme song, but a very catchy soundtrack with the Owl City.
From Shakira?
When Can I See You Again? No, that's Zootopia.
No? That's what you're talking about.
No, I'm talking Wreck-It Ralph.
Wreck-It. Oh, my bad.
No, I already said we're on Wreck-It Ralph. My number 1.
Never mind.
My favorite of all time. No, I'm not into the... I'm usually not into the pop music, but the When Can I See You Again was kind of catchy, and I think mostly it's because of how much I love this movie. The Vanellope and Ralph relationship is great. I laughed my ass off in the theaters watching this with my wife many, many years ago when the guy that's hidden as Turbo King Candy's like, you wouldn't hit a guy with glasses, would you? And he hits him with the glass. It's perfection. I love this movie so much.
They are puns at their best and worst.
Absolutely.
Like, they indulge in the awfulness, but not in a way that it is annoying.
And Alan Tudyk, I can't remember how to pronounce his name correctly. There you go. Absolutely hilarious as King Candy and Turbo. Loved it. Can't say enough about it. Well, there you have it, folks. That's our
really quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
As a side note.
Sure.
Alan Tudyk, because he has a huge relationship with Disney, and I remember seeing footage of him. He plays Hey the rooster in Moana, and I remember seeing footage of him after doing a bunch of clucks or whatever. He's going like, I went to Juilliard, basically laughing about him playing a stupid ass chicken. Anyways,
That's our top 5 of the Disney Animation Studios from 2000 to 2018. Like I said, let us know what's on your list. Let us know what you think about our list. And Joseph, where can people find you at online?
Of course, you can find all my film writing at lrmonline.com, and you can follow Los Fanboys on wherever you download them. Download Los Fanboys, and you can find me on Twitter at JamTheWriter.
And you guys can find me at that Kyle Malone on Twitter. I also write the Cantina every Thursday, which is a Star Wars column. Make sure you guys check that out. Look for LRM Ranks It videos every Tuesday, and the podcast, which is a much more in-depth take on the movies that we just listed, every Wednesday following, it kind of follows. So listen to this on Tuesday. Go check out the podcast on Wednesday so you can hear a little bit more in depth, plus our wonderful ideas for Wreck-It Ralph and Ralph Breaks the Internet. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Hey everybody, did you like what you just watched? Do you want to see more? Check out the other great videos available here on the LRM Online YouTube channel. Also, go check out our website, lrmonline.com, to see all the great stories that we publish every day.